Percy Weasley was not only one of the most reasonable characters in the Harry Potter books, but also we should all try to be more like him. Let's talk villains. So he opposes the hero in several of the books, and he is viewed as a villain by even his own family, so he definitely counts as a villain. So Percy was born during the war, and from his age, he probably actually remembers it. He would have been 5 when it ended. He wouldn't have incredibly clear memories of it, but he would have remembered the sense of fear. He would have remembered enough. Arthur and Molly were active members of the Order of the Phoenix. I know this is never stated in the books, but let's look at the facts. The Order of the Phoenix wasn't supposed to acquire very many new numbers, only those like Tonks, who were too young to fight in the first time. The Pruitts, being Molly's brothers, did fight in the war and lost their lives. The idea that Molly and Arthur didn't fight is very unlikely. Dumbledore knew that he could trust them in the Goblet of Fire, and they have incredible faith in Dumbledore, as though they've worked together before. Now, I highly doubt that Molly actually did much fighting during the war, because she would have been pregnant for most of it. What I do think she did is I think that she was the medic, and I think this because of how she handles Fred's injuries in the 7th book. George's injuries, sorry. When George gets injured, she does not freeze, she jumps into action, and she heals it incredibly well. This is a dark magic wound that would have been outside of the realm for a basic fix, but she is able to heal it, as though she's encountered dark magic wounds before. Bill helped her, because in times of wars, children were often used to fetch supplies. It was a very common practice during wars, in reality. I also think that Bill was a medic because of his serious side. We see that he's incredibly serious and that he always knows when to be serious. He was head boy. In the 7th book, he stands up and without anyone asking him or telling him, he just knows that he has to go get Mad Eye's body. Him and Lupin show a very serious side. But he also has a very looser side. So I think the seriousness is learned as opposed to inborn. Now, Charlie's left caring for the younger children, but Charlie is not the most responsible of the Weasleys, and Percy tries to step up and help. He has a bossy personality, and he's just trying to help, but it starts sowing seeds of resentment between him and his brothers. He isn't very much older than Fred and George. He's only 5, they're 3, and he's trying to control them. When the war ends, he continues with his role of this chosen role of the oldest brother. He isn't the oldest brother, but he's decided to act like it, and decided that he has to always be the responsible one. This sows even more seeds of resentment between him, because he's still trying to control Fred and George do not like to be controlled. Bill goes off to school, and Percy continues being the oldest brother. And the resentment just keeps on growing between him and his brother. Ron starts to join this resentment because him and Percy share a room. You ask why I think they share a room. Because of the number of rooms at the Burrow. We see 4 bedrooms. Percy's, Ron's, Fred and George's, and Ginny's. We also know that Molly and Arthur have a room. But you add 2 more children to this, and we need to figure out where they slept. Well, Bill and Charlie probably shared what was originally, what is now Percy's bedroom, because they were the oldest 2. Fred and George probably shared a room because they were twins, which left Percy and Ron to share a room because they're left over. Ginny probably would have kept having her own room because she's the girl. So, Percy and Ron are sharing a room, and Percy is incredibly bossy. He's incredibly controlling. And this grates on Ron's nerves. We see how he is with Hermione. And I think he learned that attitude because he was always surrounded by Percy, and they shared a room. They bickered, and they couldn't agree on how they wanted anything in the room. So Percy grows up feeling very alienated from his family. Bill is probably the brother he gets along with the best, and Bill is constantly at school. And even Bill doesn't really understand him. He tells him to loosen up a little. Percy is quite like his father. They both have a goal. They both have something that they enjoy and they're focused on. But what they enjoy and are focused on are so different that they don't understand each other, even though they're very alike. They can't really connect. And even though he's seeking to fit in with his house, he always finds himself being the victim of the pranks, the twins' pranks, and no one cares enough to defend him because we see him get pranked by the twins a lot in the books and no one ever defends him. They all find it funny. He really didn't have anyone. So he starts Hogwarts and he's hoping to find friends, but he doesn't. We don't see him being social with anyone except for his girlfriend in book 2 and on. He probably met her as a prefect because unless you're a prefect, the houses don't seem to mix much. So instead he finds his favor with the teachers, and the teachers love him. He's good at following the rules, he's good at school, and they congratulate him for this. The better he does, the more they love him, and he is already good at this. So he happily starts trying to be the best, and that's why he wasn't sorted into Slytherin, is because his ambition started after he started school. After he was sorted. Or at least it was greatly heightened. At school, away from the influences of his family, he starts to be able to form his own opinions. He starts to see in his own mind that Dumbledore, while being a great man, while being a genius, is mad. That's what he tells Harry during the First Feast. Nobody else in his family would ever call Dumbledore mad, except for the twins, but they wouldn't mean it. He has these very different opinions from his family. He doesn't have any hatred of Slytherins. In fact, he knows Crabbe's name in the second book, even though the Crabbe is several years younger, 4 years younger than him, and in a different house. Now, Percy is usually one of the first ones to side against his family, because I think he believes that if he doesn't side against his family, then they will think he's favoring his family, and he doesn't want to be accused of favoritism. So in the earlier books, he will side against Fred and George or Ron rather quickly if they are caught doing something wrong. Percy is being constantly mocked by his brothers. It's not like they're defending him. He gets a girlfriend, not a single person congratulates him. There's a reason that he keeps it a secret for a year. He gets a really good job after school. It's an amazing job to get fresh out of school. I am sure he had to get a ton of teachers' recommendations to get this job. And they don't care. They're not interested. No one cares. Now, he doesn't cut off his family for this. His brother sent him dragon dung in the 4th book. And admittedly, he didn't figure out that one was from them. But he knows Fred and George, and they do this type of stuff all the time. The Dark Lord returns. And this is when people start viewing him as a villain, as opposed to just annoying. But Percy has always been kind to Harry. He's never tried to leech off his fame. He's never tried to leech off of anyone's fame. He's always tried to get by on his own merit. But he doesn't really know Harry that well. It's not like if Ron didn't believe him, and then he wouldn't be believing his best friend. It's like he's not believing this kid that he barely knows. It also means he's not believing Dumbledore on blind faith like everyone else's. But he is shown to have that opinion from book 1 that he doesn't trust Dumbledore blindly. His biggest betrayal here is of Arthur. He's just been thrown into this ward, the ward of their workplace, being the Ministry of Magic, where the people seem to have two very different opinions of Arthur. One is that he took a joke of a department and he turned it into something great. He turned it into something incredibly useful. He helps Kingsley Shacklebolt with his cases. We see that in book 5. And the other is Lucius Malfoy's opinion of him, in which he's a joke in a joke of an department where he might have been able to do something good with his life, but he didn't, and he's a joke. Now, I believe that siding against his father was the hardest part for him. He won't look at his father. It isn't that he's choosing to trust the Ministry, it's that he's choosing not to trust Harry and Dumbledore on blind faith, and I don't blame him for that. Of course, Voldemort did in fact return, and that is shown. So what does he do then? He continues to help the Ministry, which is trying to stop Voldemort. It might not be being effective, but it's trying to stop him. He is trying to help stop Voldemort in the entire 6th book. He hasn't returned to his family. He hasn't apologized. But that break was not unexpected. And he is trying to stop Voldemort. Harry believes that the Ministry and him aren't on the same side, but the rest of the world doesn't necessarily have that opinion. And then the Ministry is overthrown. Rufus Scrimgeour is killed. I don't remember the puppet's name, but a puppet is put in the place so that Voldemort doesn't need to worry about running it himself. Very, very quickly, the Weasleys go into hiding. And Percy couldn't have rejoined them even if he wanted to. He has no idea where they are. They're under Fidelius' charm. So he continues to work in the Ministry, which is just not getting himself killed. If he tried to quit his job, he'd be killed. All the people who were working there with their wives being tried, they didn't want to work there at that point. They just didn't have a choice. He hears about the Battle of Hogwarts, and he goes to fight. He's not planning on seeing his family. He's planning on fighting for what's right, but he does see them, and he apologizes to them. He tells them he's been a prat. He doesn't expect them to apologize back, and they don't. Even though a large part of this is their fault for making him feel so alienated for so many years. He made a poor decision, but they never supported him, they never trusted him, they never reached out to him after the Ministry fell and said, "Hey, we're going into hiding, you want to join us?" Now, Percy Weasley doesn't change much in the books. He has a sense of right and wrong, and he does what he believes is right. He makes his own decisions, and he always tries to do the right thing. That doesn't line up with what other thinks is the right thing, and he makes a mistake. But when he realizes that he makes a mistake, he apologizes for it, and he tries just to correct it. He has a really high value of family, even though they aren't always kind to him. I really don't believe that Percy's personality changed much over the year. Instead, I think we got to see how he coped in many different situations, and how he dealt with when he realized that he's made a wrong choice in those situations. People villainize him because he left his family, because he didn't believe Harry. But I think many people could do with, as Molly says, taking a leaf out of Percy's book. So tell me what you think in the comments below. Hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more than this, and farewell for now, my minions.